Welcome to Alasquatch, the show all about Bigfoot in the great state of Alaska. I'm your host, Beans Baxter. So lace up your boots, zip up your coat, and come with me on an adventure as we explore all things cryptid in the last frontier. All right, I'm out here with Chuke from Chuke's Outdoor Adventures. We're chilling here at the Beans Mansion in the Cosmic Hamlet by the Sea in
Pretty
Homer.
nice. Love it.
Yeah, we were enjoying the view. It's getting a little dark on us.
Yeah.
And we're just out here chilling, telling stories. And I kind of wanted to ask you a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
When we were talking last time on the beach, you mentioned about a strange sighting that you had when you were out hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And light just...
Oh, good thing we got that one
Yeah,
on.
good, man.
Yeah.
So you were telling me about this strange sighting that you had while you were out hunting. I was wondering, can you go into a little bit more detail about that?
Sure. It's one of my favorite places to hunt. It's called Kasugi Ridge, and you have to drive a good 3 hours at least north of Anchorage. It's this mountain pass, and so I like to go out there and hunt bears, and there's not a lot of people out there because you gotta hike, pretty steep deal, for a good day, and then you get up on top of the ridge, and there's a bunch of bears up there. There's guides that hunt bears out there, and it's just a wonderful place, but it's kind of getting into the interior. It's definitely kind of getting into Unit 13. So it's conceivable that sometime caribou come down that far low. I know they've been spotted there before, but there's no big herd, and it's not a real, I've never seen a caribou there. So I was hunting. I shot at a coyote. The coyotes are kind of like nuisances here. Like they're not even listed on the regs because they just moved up here in the last 50 years or so. Not really native to Alaska. They just kind of moved in. Shot at a coyote, missed that. And then I was up on the ridge and I saw this creature get up on a rock and kind of crouch and kind of step towards me. He was about 90 yards away, 90 to 120 yards away. I had a 3x9 scope on my rifle, and I was just like, what the hell is that? So immediately, you're supposed to use your binoculars, but I could tell it was an animal. So I immediately threw the rifle up, and then I was just like, what the heck? Because I thought, oh, it's a fawn caribou, it's a baby caribou because it had these big kangaroo ears, and sometimes the young caribou look like that. The caribou have big ears, kind of like elk. They're big, awkward ears with a pointy face and no horns yet because they're too small. So it looked like that, but then it did this predator move where it crouched low and sunk its shoulders and reached forward, and I didn't know what to do. I was like, that can't be. I was thinking maybe my mind is playing tricks on me, and it was just like crouching, and it was actually a young caribou, because that's the only thing I think it could be with the ears. But then the way it moved, and I decided not to shoot it because I didn't, if it was a baby caribou, I didn't want to shoot that. But looking back, I wish I would have just taken a shot because it was so weird. And I did a picture of it, and I did a video, and I did a drawing of it. I'll email you the picture to throw up. But somebody commented, and it was like, that's the exact thing I saw down here in the lower 48. And other people said that it's kind of like a Dogman like thing, but it was just weird.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I just heard a discussion the other day, people talking about like, well, how come there's no proof of any of these cryptids? How come hunters haven't shot them? And
right.
And you just basically made the point that one of the people was trying to make in the argument was, hunters are generally pretty well trained and ethical as far as what they do as taking animals, and a lot of people just won't shoot at something if they don't know what it is.
Yeah, I didn't want to get in trouble or kill a baby thing, or it was just weird.
Yeah, and you hear especially something on two legs like a Bigfoot,
Hmm.
that's a risky shot to take to shoot
It
something on two
is. I
legs.
mean, a guy in a monkey suit, or maybe you'll feel bad. It's just like a
Yeah.
human being with a hair growth problem, or
A mountain man in
yeah,
furs or something,
yeah,
especially up here.
yeah,
There's probably some people out in the bush that don't get out much, and
right,
you
yeah,
wouldn't. It'd take you a few beats to realize what you're looking at before you
yeah.
realize they're a person.
If I was up close though and just saw like the ape face, I would hopefully be able to fight the fear and shoot. I have heard stories where people. One of the coolest Bigfoot stories I've heard was down in southeast. So this was like Sitka or Juneau, but it was a teenager hunting with his uncle, and they were sitting in a truck, and I guess like a 9 foot tall Sasquatch just walked up to them, and they were just paralyzed with fear, and they just felt like it could just smash into the truck, and so they like didn't do anything. They just sat there while it stared at them and slowly kind of walked around the truck and took off. But yeah, I mean, there's different things out there. Another interesting cryptid. I didn't see anything like this, but I talked to a guy. He was a Nupiat man from the North Slope of Alaska, way up there. And he said he was way out in the middle of nowhere hunting once, and he saw an eagle man. And I was like, well, what do you mean an eagle man? What did it look like? And he said it looked like a humanoid, arms and legs, except it had big wings, and the head was like a giant eagle's head. He said it was like 6 feet tall, and he was sitting there watching it with his binoculars, and after a few minutes it turned its head at him and then just slowly stood up and jumped up and took off and flew off.
That's interesting. Did he say it flapped its wings as it was flying?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I've heard a few like winged humanoid encounters where, not here in Alaska, but in other places,
Right.
like Mothman, stuff like that,
Right.
where it would just throw its wings out and then shoot up in the sky. It wouldn't necessarily flap its wings.
Interesting. Yeah, it sounded like it was just like a weird bird man, and it flew. We do have some interesting stories that made the papers, and this was, I actually read it like in, I think it was the Anchorage Daily News. It's been a good 7 years, but a bush pilot, I think this was in Southeast again too, saw a giant bird that
I remember that.
yeah, it was like 20 foot,
He radioed the village and told them to bring the kids inside or something.
Yeah, but he said it looked like a pterodactyl,
Yeah.
which was weird. It was like he described it exactly like a dinosaur bird. So, I mean, if anything could survive, it would be something in the ocean or one of those pterodactyl birds that could, fly in the air and get away.
Yeah.
So, makes you think.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff out there that we just haven't caught up with yet, and you just need a low population density and a propensity for remaining, low profile, and it's not as hard as people think it is for an animal to go undetected. I mean, well, you were talking about coyotes a while ago.
Yeah.
I've seen coyotes here on this property.
Oh, they're here.
And never heard any.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually you hear coyotes before you see them. But I've caught a couple on a trail camera here, and I've seen one run through the backyard here. But I live here, and I've lived here for what are we going like over 10 years, like 15 years, pretty close. And I've seen one with my own eyes once, and then caught one on trail camera like twice. So 3 times in 15 years.
Wow.
I mean, that's
And they spread like wildfire. I think it took them 70 or 80 years to move from the East Coast to just basically all of North America. So,
well, have you heard
amazing.
any mountain lion sightings?
Oh, yeah. And that's a neat cryptid thing because it was proven. Fish and Game finally, after a bunch of sightings, finally said, yes, we have a confirmed sighting. A biologist saw a mountain lion. But they make their way over from British Columbia, and it's just a matter of time before a population will kind of set up here.
I believe there was a reported sighting at Skilak Lake area.
Oh, wow.
So that's the closest to here.
Yeah, Kenai Peninsula.
Yeah, funny mountain lion story. I was in Eastern Washington, like I was telling you, and we're walking on this logging road, the one where I had the thing happen.
Yeah.
And it was weird because it was almost like a Noah's Ark it was a sandy, you know, kind of dirt road,
Right.
and it was almost like a Noah's Ark of animals. We saw deer tracks, we saw elk tracks, we saw turkey tracks, we saw bear tracks,
Wow.
and then we saw mountain lion tracks.
Oh boy.
And I hadn't really thought about it that there were mountain lions around there. I'm, you know, I've lived in Alaska long enough. Bears don't. I have a healthy respect for them, but I'm not scared of them.
Yeah.
Same thing with other animals. But then I saw those mountain lion tracks, and I think Will Ulmer told me what they were, and I kind of had this moment where I was like, oh, I don't know how to deal with mountain lions.
Yeah.
That's a little weird,
They're
I was confronted with something I'd never had to worry about before.
Yeah.
But I hear they're here. I haven't seen one. I haven't had any sightings reported to me, but they're allegedly around.
Yeah. And by far the biggest cryptid, I guess, paranormal all over Alaska by far would be the little people. And those stories are pretty creepy too. I don't know if you've heard any little people stories.
I've heard a few. I've never had any encounters directly relayed to me, but I've heard several stories. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like a lot of the natives fear the little people almost more than they do the hairy man.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of weird that
there's stories with like little fairy rings. If you get called into them, you'll get sucked into a time warp and come back 80 years later and you haven't aged. They're mischievous, play tricks on you. One of the most interesting reports I heard was there was a bush pilot in western Alaska, and he was pretty low, and he flew over what he described a city of little people. And they had torches and fires going, and it was just like a giant city where there shouldn't be anything. And it was all lit up, and just all their little huts and fires. And he was just, but yeah, it's probably the most common story, and a lot of them are pretty creepy.
Yeah, that's something I don't really want to run into.
Yeah, me either. Yeah.
I can, people say be careful what you wish for.
Right.
I want to see a Bigfoot. That's my ultimate goal with this. I want to prove to myself that they're real. And I always have people tell me, like, be careful what you wish for, man. People that have had, like, scary or violent encounters, be careful what you wish for. And my answer to that is always, people jump out of planes for fun, right? Like, everybody has their thing,
Yeah.
But the little people, that would be, I don't know if I could deal with that.
Yeah, that's creepy. So, yeah, always be aware of your surroundings and, have a backup plan.
I think that would also, that would be one of those things that would just make you question everything.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It'd be like, okay, so there's little people, so what,
What else is there out there? Yeah.
So, real quick, it's getting a little chilly. I don't want to keep you out here and freeze you up. Actually, you're born in Alaska, right?
Yeah.
See, not very many people are born in Alaska.
It's true. Yeah, most people move up here.
Yeah. We've both been in Alaska for a while, and people love it when I talk about preparedness, safety. What are some of the things that you do when you go into the woods to make sure you come out?
One thing that I believe did save my life once was a whoopee. I had it in my pack because the weather can change just like that. So I usually have like the thick whoopee. I have like a military one, but I even have a Kafaru one that's really thick. And then like a rain poncho cover to go over that, because I got caught out in the weather once, and if I wouldn't have had that, I probably would have got hypothermia. So that was amazing. Any kind of little fire starter you can have, and then you got to have the right clothing. You need boots that'll keep you warm, waterproof. You need layers, and if you don't have the right clothing to keep you warm and dry, I mean, this land will swallow you up. So
yeah, I like to say Alaska's a harsh mistress.
Yeah.
She'll treat you right and she'll take care of you.
Yeah.
But she'll kill you in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
But,
yeah, it's scary.
I like to one of my favorite things as far as like preparedness and survival. I like to say be in charge of your own rescue.
Yeah.
And that's, I always make sure that somebody, usually my wife, but
Mm-hmm.
somebody knows, like, if you don't hear from me from X time,
Right.
call somebody, call, the troopers, let them know
Yep.
what's going on, because I'm in trouble if I don't get in touch with you. I usually carry
Yeah.
a satellite communication device
Mm-hmm.
or something.
Good.
But also, it never hurts to do a little research into the area you're going into.
Yeah.
Troopers are in charge of search and rescue for Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
but just make sure, like, where is the nearest trooper post? Is there going to be anybody on duty?
Yeah.
Being law enforcement, I've been privy to some radio communications with the troopers where they'll get that search and rescue call,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be like, "Well, tell them to hang tight because we're not going to be able to get anybody to them till in the morning."
Yeah.
So, I've always had that in the back of my mind where I know, like, just because you call for help
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean they're coming.
Yeah.
You've got to be prepared to take care of yourself for a little while.
I like little fire starters too. We went on a day hike once across the bay, and it just started raining. All of a sudden, the temperature dropped. We didn't have the correct coats on, but we went under a big tree, and we were able to warm up for a couple hours until it passed with a nice little fire. So, just those little ferro rods and the little ropes that you cut up. So those are nice too.
Yeah. Well, before we get out of here, I got to ask you without I don't want you to spoil any of your videos or give
Mm-hmm.
away too much, but tell me about this special place you've been going to.
So it's hopefully you'll check it out with us sometime. It's just across the bay here. My buddy didn't want me to give the location, so I just call it Sasquatch Bay. But it's connected to same thing with Port Chatham is. Area A is way around and farther up. It's in that same landmass. I think anytime you have to take a float plane or a boat to kind of get away from civilization, yeah, there's some houses or people live there and the summertime mostly, but yeah, I think you have more of a chance of seeing something when you get away out there. So, we went out there. I did hear some things, nothing conclusive yet. I'm still kind of investigating out there, but really interesting, and it's a great spot to start, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's kind of like in Star Wars where he's telling Luke about the Force. You're taking
Right.
your first step into a larger world,
Yeah,
man. Get ready.
yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So, what would it take for you?
Hmm.
I've heard enough encounters and I've had enough stuff happen to me
Hmm.
to where I'm in the 90%,
Yeah.
high 90s that they
Hmm.
exist. I'd be more surprised to find out they don't exist than they do.
Right.
Where are you on that scale, and what would it take for you to 100%?
I definitely believe, but a part of it's, I want to believe. But what got me to probably the 80s was when I went to Prince of Wales Island and saw the upside down trees for myself and hiked up that mountain and saw it because scientists claim that a windstorm ripped some trees out of the ground like 100 years ago, whatever, and then they all magically went straight down and buried themselves. These giant trees upside down. And what the locals say is that the Sasquatch, because it's a hot spot, Sasquatch did it to show their strength, to keep people out of the area and show, hey, we can rip trees out.
Yeah.
But I just don't see a windstorm doing a whole bunch of them all exactly the same like that. It's just really weird, and just seeing that was kind of an eye opener for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to see that. That sounds like a great trip.
Hmm.
Prince of Wales Island is on my list. We actually had plans to go there,
Oh wow.
and it was 2020,
Oh right.
and we ended up having to cancel
Yeah.
because of everything going on then. But yeah, we had the trip. I had the campsites booked. I had a
Oh
car
wow.
rented. Had the ferry ticket from Juneau to Prince
Hmm.
of Wales, and had to cancel.
Wow.
But,
Well, we might have to do it sometime because it's
yeah.
not too far from here.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. Chuke here is an alumni from Alaska Triangle.
Oh, that's right.
I was
Yeah.
on season 1. He was on season 2. So
Yeah.
we're Alaska Triangle bros.
Good times.
Yeah.
That was a fun show.
Yeah. Well, man, thanks for coming and talking to me. I won't take
Yeah.
up any more of your time. I had a great conversation
Yeah,
with
me
you.
too.
I think we can do this again. I could talk for hours about cryptids and Bigfoot in Alaska. Those are like my favorite things in the world.
Let's do it.
And guns too. We hadn't
Yeah.
even talked about guns.
All right.
So we can definitely kill a lot of time sitting here chatting.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get out of here. And thanks everybody for watching. I'm gonna link to some of Chuke's videos and his channel there, so you can take a look. And we'll catch you next time